Hi, my name's Taryn and I'm in Therapeutic Recreation, and we're here today to help you answer questions about interviews. Generally speaking, most employers will ask you for a few different types of questions. General questions, like the classic, why did you apply to this job? Behavior-based questions, like tell me about a time when you blank. More skill testing questions and problem-solving questions that are specific to your industry.
My question is, what is the best way to prepare for an interview?
What I would say is definitely do your research. I always find it interesting when I'm applying to a job and I have an interview with an employer to look up ahead of time their website, look at their social media, just kind of get involved and understand their values, what kind of programs they run. I just find that kind of helps get me in a better headspace when entering the interview, because sometimes when they ask questions about their own work setting, you kind of have a little bit of that background knowledge. For me, the best way to prepare for an interview is by practicing. Even if I don't have an interview scheduled yet, I find it helpful to think about what kinds of questions might be asked. So mock interviews are definitely difficult. I always find them a little awkward. Obviously, you're going to act differently in the mock interview than you may in an actual interview, but that's okay because I find the mock interview is a good space to kind of make those mistakes so that someone can point them out and be like, hey, you did this when you said this, that sort of thing. One time when I had an interview conflict, it was 2 interviews that were actually just barely overlapping, but enough that I wasn't going to be able to go to both at the same time. On Waterloo Works, when you're selecting a slot for all your different interviews, it'll actually give you the name of the person who's in the schedule and their email. So I actually took the email of the person below me and just sent her a quick email and said, hey, I have this interview and I was wondering if you'd be willing to switch, and she was more than willing to. So we very easily just went back into Waterloo Works, opened up our slots and swapped, and it was actually quite simple that way. If you ever have an interview conflict because of exams, conflicting interviews, or personal emergencies, find out all the steps you need to take on the Co-op website if you have an interview conflict. Keep in mind too that if you're ever feeling overwhelmed by your interview schedule, be sure to chat with your advisor or fill out a request for interview relief form. Well, first of all, I always like to ask questions at the end or come with like a binder or even like a piece of paper, just written them down. Because sometimes towards the end of the interview, and if you're nervous, you just want to get it over with. But it is really important to ask those questions at the end, just because it shows that you were prepared and you maybe took the time to think about the position. In terms of questions I like to ask, I like to think of kind of like what I prioritize in a job, what I value, and then kind of like to ask questions based on that. So I really like to know a lot about the workplace culture. So sometimes I'll ask, how long have you been in the position? What do you like about the workplace culture? What do you like about your job? Each term, you're able to submit a certain number of not interested rankings when you submit your rankings. The few instances that I've used the not interested option on a rank match was when I had applied for a position. It was out of province. I thought I would move, thought it would be so great and exciting. And then I went to the interview, learned a bit about the job, kind of liked the job, but then became less keen about the location. After rankings, I was ranked and I was kind of worried that I was going to end up with it and have to quick move out of province or something, which is definitely okay to do. It's totally a matter of personal preference and circumstances at the time. But definitely I use that not interested just to kind of cater my rankings to what may be a better fit for me at the time. As a tip, if you don't use your not interested ranking and decide to rank an employer low on your list, there is still a chance that you could get matched with that employer. So be sure to use your not interested rankings if you don't think the job is a good fit.